record on this computer. So we're going to go ahead and start recording as of now. This is the Washington, this is the WACSE Council meeting. This is our, what we call spring. It's a little early spring meeting, but nonetheless. As you can look at the, so if, I think everybody who's here is a returning folks. So you guys been with part of this group, part of the founding of this group. So you're familiar with our process. I won't go through all the details here. So getting down to the agenda adjustments, do you folks have anything you want to add, subtract, reshuffle the agenda? It's basically, it's got to work for us. So let me know if you want to do it a little bit differently, or there's things you want to talk first, you want to make sure we get to today. This agenda is written more or less as a running list of things for us to work on. So and not necessarily we're going to get through everything. So if there's something you definitely want to champion today, let me know, and we'll go ahead and put that on top of the list for you to look for us to go through. Okay, so so the first thing is let's talk a little bit about the institutional update and seeing. Oh, there's a couple things in the chat, so let me get there and see if you say something on the chat and I don't get to you, please kind of verbalize this so I can go ahead and, or you could just turn on your microphone and talk about it. Oops. Okay. So let's see. We got a couple new folks joined us just a minute ago. We are basically going through the meeting prep at this point, talking about kind of the logistics of the meeting. We got to a place where we're going to go into the institutional update. So let me go ahead and turn that over to you folks. And maybe we start with, let's see, Matthew is at the top. So you can go ahead, at least on my list. I'm going through the pictures as they appear on my little sidebar on Zoom. So go ahead, Matthew, you want to get started with the updates?
Yeah, sure. So I have my awesome new colleague here. Well, I say new, EHUB was approved by his committee for tenure, so that's pretty exciting. So we just have to wait for the board approval. So I'd say awesome new, soon to be tenured faculty colleague. Yeah, what's going on at Everett? So Everett Community College is where we're at. You know, pretty much the same as everybody else, dealing with pandemic, the online world. Our enrollment's been pretty all over the place. So sometimes I would say we're down, and sometimes I would say we're up, but it's really kind of all over the place. And so I think that's a combination of students trying to feel out the pandemic and figure out what classes they want to take and they can handle within 1 quarter being online, and just students from other community colleges surfing around. We're seeing a lot more faculty shopping across institutes, especially institutes that are close. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it for me.
Good, yeah. John, do you want to go next?
Yeah, so I'm over at UW Bothell, and things have gone relatively well. Enrollments are still strong, and so our kind of, our systems are functioning essentially the way that they have before. No one, I think most of us don't like being on Zoom, of course, but things have gone relatively well. I think one of the things out of this will be, as probably is true for everyone else's institutions, is there will be probably more hybrid and online offerings. And so there have been discussions about that have begun.
Johnny, while we are on your for your institution, if you could also, have you had a chance to take a look at the courses that need to be that are needed to be a junior at your institution, and are they still up to date?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the document and the document.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I'm also doing another. I looked over the document and made one comment, but just double checking right now.
Okay, perfect. And I was, yeah, so as we go through, well, I'm going to ask the same question for all the folks who are for four-year institution, just to make sure that our junior ready requirements list, that would be, let me go ahead and share the document so you guys can, we can just make sure we're talking about the same document, is up to date. So because we are using that as our mechanism for saying what courses are junior ready. So as you guys go through, if you haven't done it, that's okay, but maybe after the meeting, you can, this document is what I'm referring to. Carlos, Carlos, would like to go next?
Yeah, good morning, everybody. Greetings from beautiful Boto. We also had some snow. Our school, just like Johnny was saying, our enrollment was good this year. Everybody's a little tired of Zoom. Most of the students want to go back to face-to-face. But just like Johnny was saying, the whole university is starting to consider more hybrid, more online, and other delivery methods. So in terms of the requirements, the junior ready requirements, they look good to me. I have only one update that I'm not sure that I told you guys last time, but we have updated our BS in computer science curriculum. We'll be sharing the whole degree requirements very soon when I update the documents. So recently, our curriculum committee has approved the changes. And very briefly, we increased the number of credits for algorithms, programming languages, and two of our software development courses. That way, we're going to have more time to prepare the students for interviews and to have more time to work on a little bit more on web development and maybe mobile development. And to make space, we gave less priority to our computer engineering sequence. So that part is going to end up in a minor and as technical electives for the BS. So those are our updates. I'm happy to see you guys and see that you guys are well.
So Ken, would you like to go next?
Sure, yeah. My name is Ken Hang. I teach at Green River College in Auburn, south of Seattle. Yeah, maybe as echoing kind of similar updates as others, this enrollment is kind of very, very challenging to kind of understand right now. I think just a general trend that we're seeing is that, students who have already started on their path are sticking with it and they're continuing through. It's new students where we're seeing quite a bit of a drop in kind of our traditional enrollment trends. So it seems like this, rough data here, but it seems like students may be a little more hesitant to get started on something that they don't know where the future may lead them. Lots of discussion around reopening plans as well. And as a department, we're also kind of talking a lot about, what is going to be different going forward, similar to what we'd heard from previous updates here today. There have been some echoes on, flexibility. What do the students expect going forward? And then also internally in the department, we've been talking a lot about, well, what's the best format to be teaching as well? Like, what's the most effective one for students? Students may want to have that convenience of, oh, let's just do this online, but is that for everybody? We don't know. So we're still having some pretty deep discussions around that and trying to sort that out. But yeah, thanks.
Thank you. Chloe, would you like to go next?
Good morning, everyone. I hope you're doing well. I'm over at the University of Washington, Seattle campus in science and engineering. I mentioned this last time, but since it's new, I'll say it again. Our department did move to requiring that transfer students submit a second departmental application to our program. It used to be that they could just apply to the University of Washington through the transfer application and list CS or CE, and that was it. But we are now requiring that they submit a second departmental application. So if you're working with trying to transfer to UW Seattle, please make sure that they're looking at our website for more information and sending us any emails that they might have questions on. In terms of enrollment, our enrollment is looking pretty solid. We are down in terms of transfer. So in the spring, we had less transfer applications that we normally do, but our enrollment or our accepted students were did stay the same. So we're feeling pretty good. I think one of the things we're hearing from students is just that they're worried about starting at UW online. And so I think that's why we're seeing reduced numbers of students applying, and definitely understand that. On a somewhat unrelated note, but I actually manage our diversity and access team in the own school, and we do a lot of K through 12 outreach, particularly to students who are underrepresented in computing. And one of the things that we're trying to do is actually tell students about different programs besides UW Seattle. So if you have any materials that you would like my student ambassadors to be providing about your program, or if there's any language you're interested in us sharing, we'd love to share about your program as well. So you're welcome to send me an email, or I'm happy to chat. But if you do have any of that information and you would like us to recruit or just send out information for you all, we are more than happy and to do that. So please send me an email if you're interested.
Just building really quickly on what Chloe was saying, there is the Google group. So we have a fraction of people who are a member of this council in every one of our meetings that we have face-to-face. Most of them are online. So if you have a request, if you have an announcement, please feel free to send it to that Google group for folks to see and respond to. That is what is meant. That is why that group is there. And if somebody doesn't know how to get, I think all of you are already a member, but if you're not, just get on the Google group for WACSE and request to be a member, and will be approved. But I believe everybody's there. Eric, would you like to go next?
Sure, I'm Eric Larson from Seattle University. I don't have a whole lot to add from what everyone else has said. I think things are going fairly well, all things considered. Our enrollments are still strong. As I did look at the transfer ready guide, it looks like the requirements look accurate. So we didn't make any changes since the last time we talked. So that looks good. Yeah, I think people are getting tired of the online. We haven't had any real discussion about what fall is going to look like, though we're probably very likely, we're on the quarter system here, very likely to start the fall quarter in early September again. So we're finished by Thanksgiving. So that might have a little bit of impact for people trying to transfer here, as the quarter will start a little earlier again. Likely hasn't been officially figured out, but other than that, I think the students are doing fairly well, but it's not ideal.
Thanks. Esteban, you want to go next?
Sure. Sorry, I have no camera today. Our enrollments are, I guess, relatively strong. Although I have to say that we are several faculty down because we have had 3 retirements. And what happened is that our university decided to offer a very nice package to those who would want to retire early. So people who didn't really want to retire could retire. So some people took it. And now we're 3 faculty down, and we were not able to rehire because that's still going on this year, but we are going to rehire for next year. So what's happening is that we have our classes really overflowing, but maybe it wouldn't be so if we wouldn't have combined so many classes. We have plenty of space for our master's program. So if you have an undergraduate institution and you want to place your students in a master's program, talk to me. We have some help that we can offer. And also I'm again making myself available to go and talk to your classes about joining our undergrad program. We are going to be face-to-face, and our undergrad program is actually really strong. We have a really good placement rate, and not only in the Spokane area, but just about everywhere in the region. Something else that's happening is that we are becoming a CAE institution, and I don't know if you know what that is. It's the Center for, oh, what is it? Cyber Defense something. I don't remember the acronym, but we're becoming a partner with the with the cyber security, and I guess I could look up the acronym, but you guys can do that as well. So we are going to be fully accepted by the center. We've already got the initial acceptance, but we still have to fill out a few pieces of paperwork, and we should be done with that. I mean, it will be done by the end of the year. That's how normally it's done. So we are still going through the process, and it's going, I think, very well. We got our initial recommendation for approval, I think, in early December. Then we got the second one with comments on January, and we're continuing to do that. We're still planning on being face-to-face in the fall, and we are going to be in the new building that Avista built for us in downtown Spokane. So we're no longer going to be in Cheney. We're going to be in downtown Spokane. Well, Spokane, I don't know if you can call it downtown. It's about, I don't know, half a mile from downtown Spokane. So if you want to be picky, it's no longer downtown Spokane, but it's a very nice facility. And whenever we have the meeting in Spokane, I'll give you all a tour. It's a really nice place, and we're very happy with going there. And of course, we're even more happy because it's only going to increase our collaboration with local industry. It goes relatively well under normal circumstances, but people somehow think that Cheney is, I don't know, in the other side of the state, but it's only 15 miles. It's only 25 minutes, between 20 and 25 minutes from downtown Spokane, but it does seem like it's very long for people. But now, being in Spokane proper, I think this should make it a lot easier. And I think that's all I have. Thank you.
Nick, you want to cover Clark? Oh, all right, we'll skip Nick. We'll come back to Nick. Chelsea, you want to?
I didn't know I was supposed to prepare an update.
Oh, go ahead.
I didn't know I was supposed to prepare an update.
Okay, that's all right. So both Nick and I are from Clark. As far as the update, because we really don't have much of an update at Clark. One thing that folks were talking about that is true for us as well is that the online, the administration at least, is very interested in online. As a matter of fact, Nick sent a survey to our existing students because we hear from the students that they don't like the online classes. They'd rather be face-to-face. That seems to be at least a vocal one. But Nick, what was the data we got back? The data we got back was what, roughly, Mick, correct me if I'm wrong.
Roughly half the students are saying that they'd be very interested in online. Now, half are somewhat interested, a quarter are very interested, and a quarter are not interested. So 50 to 75% maybe that would consider taking an online curriculum.
So the push we are getting at Clark is from the administration is, should we take the CS transfer program online because it doesn't necessarily have very many labs associated with it. The issue is that even though the CS program doesn't have labs, are the supported physics and chemistry and biology there, so it couldn't be a complete online class. So we're trying to work through that. Is it gonna be half and half? We would have, if we have enough students to run a face-to-face sequence and also run an online sequence, let the student pick which one. So we're trying to figure that out. that would be, if there is other people who are interested in that conversation, I would love to hear what you guys are thinking. What are the issues your institution is facing, and how you are planning to get around this, or plan to take advantage of the changes in the environment we are in, or are you all thinking about going back completely to face-to-face? That would be an interesting topic potentially for a future conversation. So that, as far as enrollment for our programs, or for the engineering and computer science collectively, I think it's down from, but I see it's down probably, if I had to guess, it would be around 20% down. And when we talk to some of the students are actually, most of our students are working or doing something as well as going to school. So a lot of them have decided to go work while this is online and then come back when it's face-to-face. So we are seeing a definite decline this year. Hopefully it'll get back up next year. It might grow faster because all the people who are not took the year off, they'll come back next year. But this year is definitely, yeah. So that's all for Clark College in Vancouver. Chelsea, you want to go next?
Good morning, everyone. I work with Chloe DeLisi Mandeville over at the University of Washington, Seattle. I do not have any updates to add to what Chloe has shared on behalf of our team, but hope everyone's having a nice morning.
Martin, you want to go next?
Sure. Yeah, so you could see me and everything.
Yes.
Awesome. Oh, there's my video. So yeah, at TCC, in terms of updates, not too much. There is one thing. I mean, well, I'm gonna have my little presentation later, and I might focus on one specific thing that we've been talking about at TCC with regard to rethinking CS. There is one piece of sad news I have to report, which is that we had another full-time faculty member who was at TCC on a on special aerospace funding. Actually was how that person was funded, but that person, so we might be losing that person, I guess, and so we'll be down to just me as full-time CS at TCC. So that's something that's you know, a loss. But in terms of enrollment, it seems like the CS classes seem to have good enrollment. We even increased the number of sections of the CS principals class, and that's going fairly well. So so that's good. I think overall, though, TCC has definitely had some enrollment challenges. And then in terms of fall, you know, it's something we're still in discussions about what's going to happen there. But obviously, you know, we're all hearing the news at the same time about how vaccine rollouts are going and everything like that. So I don't think I have too much more to add beyond that until maybe talking again later. So thanks a lot.
Well, Ahab, first congratulations. I didn't know if you wanted to add anything to what Matthew said about Everett.
Nothing, just I'm so excited to be here. I'm sorry, so excited to be at AVCC, and my voice is gone from lots of advising.
You've been yelling at those students too much, I think.
No, I was doing about 6 consecutive hours of advising.
Oh,
so
wow.
My voice is gone, long gone.
Well, so thank you for all that update. Appreciate it. Did I miss anybody? Did I used the wrong side of my Zoom to go through, folks. I should have gone through the participants list. That doesn't move. The pictures tend to move around. So hopefully everybody got a chance to present about their institution. If not, please let me know. So let's see where we are to. So to the next item on the agenda, I'm having a little bit of a computer problem here. So if you could just give me a minute, get my act together, then, all right. So, so hopefully you can see the agenda. Can everybody see the agenda? Yeah? Okay, cool. Cool. So we are basically on item number 3. This has been around for a little while on our list, and Matthew has been leading this effort, and I've been helping. in the last part of it. So what we wanted to do with this, maybe I'll turn it over to Matthew. Do you feel comfortable taking this over? I know that.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll be the Vanna White here, and I'll move things around if you need me to. So here.
Yeah. Let's go to the draft. Yeah. So Azad and I met. So we started this kind of last year, or year before last, I guess. Now it was in the fall, right? And this has been really sort of the starting point of this group in many ways, is trying to figure out a CS MRP. Sorry, my brain is also rebooting. So once it powers on here. And so Azad and I met a couple times over the pandemic to discuss moving forward, because we had grand plans, right? But then pandemic happened and everybody is super busy, and that kind of changed a lot of the trajectory of this, or at least interrupted it. So just for those who may be a little unfamiliar with it, right now there exists in the state AAS, so an Associate of Arts and Science MRP. So MRP stands for Major Related Pathway, or Major Related Program, I'm sorry, not pathway. So the idea is that particular pathway program that was created doesn't serve all the institutes very well in the state. In particular, what community college faculty and students face is that financial aid won't cover a big chunk of the classes students need to prepare for some of our transfer partners. A great example is WSU. WSU has a pretty hefty math and science requirements. And for those of us who have WSU campuses on our campus, it ends up not being viable for a lot of students financial aid wise to transfer to those schools, because they far exceed the general arts and science degree that we have in place, and financial aid calls foul and cuts them off, and they end up transferring to other places, or dropping out, or eating the cost, or something of the sort. So that's kind of some of the motivating factor here. The other motivating factor is just to get a handle on tying everything together, right? So like Azad's been doing a great job of collecting that sheet of all the requirements across the state. We've done that in engineering, but we haven't really done that in a concerted effort in computer science. And given the growth, and given what we think the future trajectory of computer science will be of huge growth, it would be good to grow together as opposed to growing individually and chaotically, and kind of tying stuff together a bit more. So the process is we need to basically, as a group, ask JTC, so JTC is the Joint Transfer Council, for approval of a proposal for this MRP. And the idea is that JTC is essentially got the final say, can approve it, and then we can work with them to to finalize details and stuff like that. So they're actually the body that triggers the signatures across institutes and things like that, and does all the binding together, and I guess a lot of the detail work and detail agreements and stuff like that. Our job as a council is really to provide the recommendations, right? So we're content experts, we're advising experts, and our role in this is to basically provide the details of what we want in this document. And so if you scroll down to the document that we started, so we spent, this is what, version 4? Yeah, draft 4. So I went back and forth on. So it's pretty tricky to capture these buckets. And I see that, yeah, we have pretty good. Julie left, unfortunately. You know, the first bucket's pretty clear. Communication skills, that's pretty consistent. Let me pause 1 second. So for those of you who are not too familiar with the Associate of Science transfer degrees, the ASTs, state only has 2 of them. There's AST Track 1 and AST Track 2. Track 1 is really, we think of as the hard sciences, or really bioscience and chemistry, but it excludes physics. Physics falls in the Track 2 alongside engineering. And technically, CS is supposed to fall in that Track 2 as well. It's at least listed that way on the website. It just has never really fit in that category. Anyway, so communication skills. So on the left side there, you see kind of the minimum number of credits, and that's verbiage we stole from the AST language. So English pretty common, communication skills pretty common. I changed some of the language there to indicate what was required, kind of based on what Julie was saying. What's required, and then what are the, you know, select based on destination requirements, which is the tech writing 102 or some combination thereof, which is why it's 5 to 15. Some schools require multiple sets of credits there. Math's pretty common. So I noticed a mismatch there of the minimum credits versus the range of credits that's on the right. I think that's just something we haven't fixed yet. This has been pretty tricky because we've got kind of the extremes, right? UWB's Calc 1 and 2 effectively in that bucket, and WSU requires what many of us teaches all the math classes, it feels like. And so that's why we got a pretty wide swath of credits there, 15 to 30. Humanities, social sciences. So this is the real break between the 2 degrees. So 15 for the Associate of Science versus 30 for the Associate of Arts and Science. And that's been a big deal breaker for a lot of us, is the 30 credits of Humanities, social science required for the Associate of Arts and Science degree. Hence why we're trying to do this. And then we get into some fuzziness. So this is where it's going to be up front. We've struggled a little bit, the pre-major and remaining credits category. So if you look at the language on the left, it says physics, 5 credits of the science, and then 3rd quarter of a calculus or a statistics course. So where we get, I don't want to say into trouble, but a little bit, is on the science sequences. So we're hoping that JTC is amenable to a choice of science sequences as opposed to forcing students to take a specific science sequence, if that makes sense. So traditionally, the ASTs, Track 1 and Track 2. Track 1 requires, I believe, the Gen Chem 1 and 2 as part of the degree, and then you select your other sciences as needed. And Track 2 is generally required, the full physics of calc-based physics. And neither one of those is true for universal acceptance across all CS institutes in the state. So we're hoping there's room in there of select a sequence of science or select science, right? As opposed to you have to take a full sequence of science. And then remaining credits are really the major specific credits, which is the computer science. Again, could be everything from the intro set of programming classes to some of us offer a pretty wide variety of classes, especially if we happen to be co-located with WSU campus location. That's usually the trigger for a lot of these additional courses, but just kind of laying that out. Here are your optional courses to take a peek at. So the really big thing here, more than anything, is the span of credits. So if we can make the case the students need more than 90 credits, or we can at least have it in writing at a state level, that will help tremendously our students get financial aid to be able to basically choose where they want to transfer to, as opposed to being forced in taking certain number of credits just because of their financial situation. And so that's kind of the impetus here. There's some language that we'll still need to work on probably in terms of detailing, like that grid Nusad created of all the specific requirements, kind of filling out some of those details. But this is an attempt to try to capture all the work that you all been doing over the past year. Izad gave me credit, but that's not, I mean, Hilda and Izad were helping make this.
But then there's a lot, you guys been involved in this process as well. I mean, putting your requirements, helping build that requirements list is really the underpinning of this one. What our goal is to have this document allow advisors at community college to prepare the student for your institution without having to run into the local credential and financial aid and office of instruction impediments, which are, so at least, I don't know how is it in the other community colleges, but Clark College, these three entities want to have something that comes from the state, which says these are allowed to be done. And then the idea is that each institution can use this along with the requirements you gave us for your program. So if a student wants to go to your institution, the community college can customize their program to go to your college, and the student gets the associate's degree, and it gets the financial aid and all the other things that go with it without having to appeal and fight and go back and forth to get things done. And most of our students are kind of new to this whole process. They don't have a lot of support. They, in many cases, don't have money. As soon as an impediment happens, a lot of times they don't even come and talk to us. They're worried about appeal. At minimum, it causes stress. At maximum, it causes them to drop out. Okay, so we're trying to create this to give the advisors an opportunity to customize it so the student can go through the whole process without having to have a fight with the, or if not fight, but go through the appeal and reappeal and all that kind of stuff to get it done. So actually, I see that one comment. I see that computer programming 1 and 2 is being deleted from there. The reason for that was to allow students to, depend on which institution they want to go to, they could count that as part of the pre-major, or they could count it as a remaining credit. That was the reason it appears twice. I think that was a question Johnny had, and I saw it's removed. I probably don't want to remove it. We might want to add some verbiage to it, which says it could be, you can be used for both of them, but you can use it for either or those categories. And that allows, the reason is because this becomes a very bureaucratic, what we are doing, we have a framework and we are trying to fit our programs across the state. And computer science by far, so I'm involved in the engineering side of it as well. Computer science by far have the most diverse requirement across the institution, across the whole state. So ideally, if you wanted to do right, to go to the root cause of the problem, you should be able to get together as a four-year institution and kind of consolidate our requirement. But that's like moving a mountain at this point, and there are too many moving parts to it. There's not a possibility. So we figured this is the other way. Even if the roads go a diverse way, can we create a map that allows the students to go whichever way they want to go without hitting too many roadblocks along the way? So that's kind of the fundamental goal for this thing. And so anyway, so it's basically what we're hoping to do today is there are some minor modification on this one. We could, I was going to put out a poll just to see what folks think about. But what maybe a better way would be, I don't know what you guys think. I don't know if you're ready to kind of, the vote would be, should we move forward and submit it to JTC and see what they tell us about this, how close it is or how far it is, or do something else? That would be kind of the process. So at this point, maybe a good idea, unless Matt, do you have more things to say? At this point, we could open it up for people to comment on what they think and where they think we're going.
Yeah, let me add one more thing. Something that we've talked about, and I think Izad and I have been kind of going around with this. We aren't sure if JTC is just going to say, you know what, you don't meet like the pre-major requirements of the sequence of science, so we can't just fit it into track 1 or 2. But we're also hoping they might be amenable, if that doesn't work, to a track 3 potentially. So a computer science specific track. And we just don't know how, to be fair, we're not real sure how much of an appetite there is at the state level for that. But I think there might be, given that we're such a tech heavy state. So I feel like, we sort of feel like they'll be willing to work on figuring out how it fits into one of their bins and how they want to put it. But yeah, really the process is we first need to figure out which of the tracks it fits into, or do we need to create a new track? And then the next part of that process is adding language scaffolding that's more detailed for MRP, which is the major related program part of it. There's kind of a couple parts to this. So it's not like we're voting on, basically I'm just saying, we're not voting on, this will be the document that just suddenly sits on the state site. There will be a decent amount of process that we have to go through to add language. We need a task force, right? We'll need some more people to really add in a lot of verbiage here, but just from a high level, approve this process is essentially what we're doing from JTC. Does that capture that right, Zan?
Perfect, perfect. So there was a chat and I lost it. Okay, just if anybody wants to, a discussion, comment, anything about the plan, what do you guys think we should be doing? Okay, so just to get the temperature of the group, maybe I'll go ahead and put a poll out there. And if you guys take a minute to respond to the poll, we at least get a feeling for this representative body that is here. We have a pretty good representative of 2-year programs and 4-year programs here. So let me go ahead, and you guys are familiar with poll. I'm not very familiar with polling on the things, so on Zoom, but I created one and I believe it's available to you guys, right? Can you guys see the poll? Yeah,
I'm not sure where polls show up on Zoom. I've never done
it should
one.
pop up right.
Oh, yeah,
on
that
the
is.
screen.
Just popped up.
Yeah. So you can, I believe you can just say yes or no and just do it.
Can we win an Apple iPhone by submitting this?
Yeah, you can have
Your
a virtual Apple iPhone. I'll send you a simulator as soon as we are done, Nick.
Awesomeness.
We should just say you'll be entered into a drawing to potentially win.
Yeah, so thank you. So it looked like overwhelmingly folks feel like we should kind of move forward with this one, but it looked like, Matt, you and I have a little bit of work to do to kind of fix this. There were some real good issues that came up, the stuff Johnny brought up, the stuff that Julie brought up, and also this whole issue of the minimums not matching. Somehow that completely escaped me, which is kind
Me
of
too. We didn't even look in that column.
So yeah, we'll go fix those, and we'll keep you in the loop. We might have to send another poll out to let people know, to get a broader, because we have over 60 some institutions that are member of WACSE. We just get about maybe 30% of people going to the meetings, but there is a broader group that is part of the thing. So we'll send that to them once we have it done and get their feedback before we send it to JTC. So on the agenda, if you go back to any last minute conversation with this one before we move on. So we had two other topics that were really cool. One was from Ken, I think, right, Ken? About a CS survey course, just kind of seeing what everybody's doing, what's happening, and you had some ideas about how you guys are doing it in Green River. The other one was rethinking CS program, and that was from Martin, right, Martin?
Yeah, and I'd be happy to defer to Ken. We probably don't have that much time today, because yeah, I probably need to go around 9 as well.
Okay.
So yeah, I'd like Ken to go first for sure.
So maybe we'll delay those for the first thing tomorrow. Ken, maybe you can start the conversation, but I don't think we have enough time to do it justice. Do you want to start the conversation and we pick it up in the next event?
Sure. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, happy to do that. I have to leave at 9 too, so this is good. Yeah, I've been getting a lot of questions, and I'm sure other folks have as well, about students who may be still in the exploratory phase. They might not know that they want to commit to computer science, as we've been kind of seeing here today. I mean, it's a pretty big commitment to go down that transfer track with all of the prep work that students have to do in calculus, physics, and of course the CS courses too. And I'm kind of curious to see what different institutions are doing to maybe provide students who are interested a chance to preview a little bit of computer science before committing down this track. And similarly, our high school partners are, a relatively recent development in the AP world is AP Computer Science Principles. It's not that recent, but it's maybe still recent, as we, at least at my institution, we don't have a course that accepts that credit. So there's lots of kind of conversations around this. Is there an exploratory survey course for people who are considering the major, or maybe just want to take one course just to see what it's about? So I guess maybe my interest is collecting some data and maybe doing a survey of survey courses, maybe inspired by the grid that was created here by the team, something similar, but around survey courses, just to see what folks are doing, if they articulate with AP credit at all, if that surveys course maybe satisfies any general education requirements. That's a big question that I get from students as well. If this course is transferable, if it does it satisfy any gen ed requirements there? I'm also kind of curious about how your survey courses may or may not connect with your traditional kind of CS1 course. I know some institutions have, require students to start a survey course and then go into CS1. Others, it's like the exploratory course doesn't really have a connection, and I'm kind of curious about that as well. So anyway, just trying to read the landscape, maybe collect some data, and so that we can all kind of see and make better decisions. I know at the college I'm at, the first questions I get asked are, hey, what's everyone else doing? But as I propose a course or as I propose an idea, I think folks kind of want to know, well, what else is going on at the four-year institutions at other community colleges as well. So maybe that's kind of a brief introduction. And what I can probably do just to kind of keep the conversation going before we adjourn is maybe I can start a Google Doc where we can collect thoughts on the conversation, maybe collect a little grid as well, and I can share that in the Google group with everyone as well. So for anyone who's interested in doing this sort of work. One of the big motivations behind this work, or at least for me, is broadening participation. I know it's a thing that we've been working on for a long time, is how do we kind of bring folks who are currently not participating in our field and give them an option to kind of see things and allow them an opportunity to participate. So that's kind of my focus behind all of this. And I'm looking for partners and people who are working together on this as well. So anyway, that's maybe it for the moment. So maybe I'll hand it back to Izad.
Yeah, that's great. So the idea of Google Doc has been pretty effective in communicating in this world. If you could send a note, once again, I want to emphasize that we are a small group. We are just maybe a 20%, 30% of the whole group. Put a note on the Google's group that we have, the WACSE group, and say, hey, this is what I'm doing. This is a document I created. Please put in what you are doing in there. and we can all go in there and put that stuff in there, that would be awesome. That would be a great contribution. So that's great. As far as the meeting for next meeting, we have kind of agreed we will have 2 meetings. I'm going to jump to the end of the meeting because we're almost out of time. We have about 5 minutes to go. And so we usually have it in fall and spring. And now this time we were a little bit early, but that's okay. We're better early than late because we wanted to make sure we were ready for JTC. That happens, I think, in April or May, the time frame. So next meeting is going to be in fall. How about I'll throw a date in there, and if somebody knows a reason we shouldn't use the date or they want a different date, let me know. How about Tuesday, October 12th, same time, 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock? That's a long time in the future, so I'm not sure if anybody's thought about it that far in the future. I looked on the calendar to see if there was like a holiday or some magical thing happening on that day. I can't see anything. So if you see any events, or if your school has an event that conflicts with that, let me know now. But otherwise, that was the date proposed. Any changes?
I'm kind of interested in hearing about Ken's work, and Martin, I believe, is on the agenda as well. Should we do like a spring, like late spring? I know everybody's super busy, but I think just spitballing some ideas, like we don't lose maybe some of the momentum of the year of online and good stuff that I think people have been doing. I feel like there's some conversations that would be nice to have that is in all of our heads, and we need to detox a little bit on it. So would people be amenable to like end of next quarter kind of gathering to chat about some of these programs, a couple of these topics? So basically Ken and Martin's topics, and maybe like on a Friday afternoon, and we'll do a virtual happy hour chat kind of thing. Cool. Yeah, I think that would be really.
Okay. So do you have a date for that, or you want to do that offline? How do you want to do that?
That's a good question. Let's just do it offline.
So you want to send a note on WACSE and see how many? I think you might get even more people if you. This would not be one of our formal meetings. This would be happy hour style. No agenda, no nothing. You just come in and chat. Whoever wants to come in, and chat about what issues they have, what they learned, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So I think maybe just like a little blurb from Ken and Martin of things that they might want to just like hang out and chat with. Because then we could maybe formalize it more in a meeting in fall of anything we want to do, like action items or propose anything at a greater level, or like talk about it and more succinctly. And I think it just kind of gets some of that talking vibes out that we need. And I would propose that we do, I'll set up a GatherTown group basically, so we can walk around virtually and hang out, since that's what I do everything in these days. I can run that if you want, so you don't have more on your plate.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Cool.
All right, guys, thank you for coming. It was a great, very productive meeting. Appreciate your time. So once again, I want to put a plug for kind of using the notes, the WACSE notes group to communicate with the broader, especially the four-year institutions. I see notes about events you have that are coming up. And if you just want to make sure everybody reaches out, just go ahead and put it up there. If you know, if you're talking to your peers in other two-year programs that are, or four-year program that are CS not a member, bring them in. It would be really nice to have a place. The more people we have involved, the more influence we're going to have, the more ability we will have to improve our program across the board and get our influence heard at the state level of what we need to do to make CS successful. Because I don't think we have as much of a voice as some of the other fields at the state level. And they are hungry. They are at the state level, they're really hungry to get our feedback. They feel like they're not hearing from us in computer science. So anyway, with that, have a great day, stay safe, and look forward to the happy hour coming up. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Izad.
Thank you.
Thanks.